Whatnauts Reactor Core number 64. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa,
Hello.
Are you ready and excited to talk about the Batman?
I am here. I am the knight. It's thunderstorming outside, Kyle, which is very moody, very perfect. I just hope it doesn't mess with my internet connection.
Yeah, that would be bad. But yes, good like tone setting weather, right, for this movie. Yeah, like I mentioned, we are here to talk about the Batman. We're about to do our full spoiler cast on all of that stuff. Of course, we'll give our spoiler-free thoughts and stuff first, but then we will dive into the plot after that. And yeah, Melissa, let's jump right in. What did you think of the Batman?
I was very excited for this movie. I think because it's something entirely new, and new to the canon of Batman. I knew it was going to be a mystery. There's that thrill of the mystery. I was so impressed by every trailer I saw. I like the cast. I like the aesthetics and the tone of it. And the entire film really delivers. It is exactly what I went in there hoping to see.
Cool. Good. Yeah, I was not necessarily hesitant. That's not the right word. Cautious also feels not like the right word. It's like I was one of those people who, when you mention Robert Pattinson, I immediately go, "Oh, the guy from Twilight." Right?
Yes.
I wasn't really super familiar with his work, but I knew he had been, like, I'd seen him in The Lighthouse. Like, I know he's an actor's actor, but I wasn't super familiar with his career. So it was one of those things of like, interesting choice. I don't know if that would have been my first choice of an actor to do all of, for him to be Batman. But he's decent in what I've seen him in, right? Like I sure we'll see what he's got. And yeah, the trailers looked extra dark, and I liked that. I was like, ooh, that's a creepy looking Batman. I can get down with this. This looks good. And I walked away from this film ecstatic. I loved this. This was like my kind of Batman. This was Kyle's kind of Batman story. Dark, detective story, kind of creepy, kind of a horror story. The whole thing is a good mystery, good detective story. And that is exactly what I wanted. So
the very first camera tests. Me too. The first camera test we got of Robert Pattinson in the Batman suit that are like all lit in like red light. At the time, that was your photograph of yourself for like your Twitter bio. And I'm like, of course, he's stealing Kyle's style. So I'm not surprised that you love this movie. This is your crime boy, your art boy. This is the Batman for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought the casting in this was spectacular. I thought the cinematography was like on par with Blade Runner 2049. Just really atmospheric,
nice comparison.
Really moody, just great shots.
Yeah. Ever since that first camera test, everything we've seen from this movie has been so stylistically consistent. Like, this movie's always felt like it had a very clear, distinct voice, even when you're just getting like little trailers about it. I was also happy to see that one of the first trailers we got had an old Nirvana song in it, and that song is in the movie itself. I like that tonal follow through.
Yeah, it's a really interesting song, because they did say that Kurt Cobain was one of the inspirations for Robert Pattinson's Bruce, which is an interesting choice. Again, not something I would have really thought of or done. But I saw Barrett Courtney from Kind of Funny on Twitter say, hey, that song's name is Something in the Way. all you need to do is add an NE at the end, and it's something in the Wayne. And it's about Batman there, and it's just like that's too perfect. Like there's just something about Wayne, something about that guy.
This truly is a Wayne's World.
It really is. It really is. And it was waning the whole time too. So. Oh God! All right. This
is a very grungy film. This is a film
Absolutely.
that friend of the show Jack described as prestige emo.
Sure.
Which I think is true.
Prestimo? Is that no? I guess that won't work. I was
Prestimo sounds like the name of a magician.
It is I, Prestimo. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's very much like a top tier AAA, quadruple A film. It looks incredible, like we said.
Yeah.
I don't know if this film is going to be for everyone. I've seen some people mention things online, and all sorts of things too about why they didn't like this. Whether they thought the pacing was really slow, or it was too long, or they didn't like Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, but his Batman was okay. It just like I think there's a lot of really interesting choices in this film that may or may not work for some people. But yeah, like I said, for me, this all worked. This all worked incredibly well. And I loved it a lot. So.
Yeah, especially as a year 2 Batman story.
Yep.
There's elements of this being an origin story that I think are very interesting things to think about. One of my favorite aspects of the film is that this is a Bruce that has never quite taken to Alfred. One of the minor plots of this movie is about him really realizing how important Alfred is to him, how much he does care about this man. Every other Batman we've seen, and it's a relationship I always love. He's always friends with Alfred, confidants with Alfred, and this is a Bruce who's still like, literally, you're not my real dad.
Which maybe not my favorite interpretation, but it was nice through the course of the film to see their relationship tighten a little bit there.
Yeah. I just like that that's a relationship that's an aspect of Batman and of the standard aspects of a Batman story that they put some thought into. I love to see them as friends, but the fact that they aren't friends at the beginning gives that relationship more texture. It gives it something to accomplish.
Absolutely. I have to say Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle in this was
wonderful.
Yeah, incredible. I would love to see more of her on screen. God, what's his name? I've done this like 4 times this week. The actor that plays the Penguin. That I can't.
Oh,
remember.
Colin Farrell.
Yeah, Colin Farrell. Oh, holy moly! If they don't win some kind of like best makeup for that's a different person. That is not Colin Farrell. I feel like that's why my mind just is like I can't remember Colin Farrell's name. He's a well-known actor. Like I know him, but I just like that's not him. How did they do that?
He looks so much like a separate real person. Like that is not really special effects makeup. He doesn't look like a character. He looks like a character actor that they just already found somewhere.
This is like Tilda Swinton in Suspiria levels of stuff. Would you blew my mind with that? I had no idea she was there in 2 different roles. But yeah, phenomenal stuff. I cannot applaud this film enough. I want more. I know we're getting spin-offs of this on HBO, like
true
TV show spin-offs of this on HBO Max to explore this world more. I'm stoked. I'm excited. I cannot recommend this enough. So
check it out. It is worth the 3-hour runtime, I think.
I think so. So a couple things before we get into our spoiler sections and stuff like that. Man, I had probably the most wonderful Uber driver on the way back from seeing this. So he picked me up after the movie, and first thing he said to me after confirming that I am who I say I am was, "So tell me about the Batman." Like, didn't even ask him, like, what did you see? All that. He was just like, "I know you went to go see the Batman. Tell me how good is this? I'm seeing it tomorrow." Like, all that stuff. I was like, dude, this was amazing. I loved it. Turns out he's a huge comic book nerd.
Nice.
When I mentioned that, like, oh yeah, I've been reading all of the like mid 80s, early 90s DC comics, all that post-crisis stuff. He goes, "Man, that's my jam. I love all that stuff." I was like, John Byrne, Superman, this stuff, that stuff. Like, we connected instantly.
Good.
We got to my destination, back to my house here, and we just sat there for like 10 more minutes just talking about like, well, I liked this thing about it, but I didn't like all this stuff in Justice League, and here's why I liked this, and now I did not like that. Fantastic. Made the experience wonderful, because I did not have a great experience in my theater. Unfortunately, the guy in front of me and to my left, every 5 minutes on Instagram, on Facebook, trying to take like Snapchats of the movie, all this stuff. God, I hated it. And I eventually kicked his seat, and he didn't stop. And so it got to a part that this had to have, like, I tolerate it at first to just be like, all right, if you need to do like one or two things, right, like get your shit done. But he just kept pulling it up. And so eventually it got to a part where like the music quieted down, and I made sure I said real loud, I was like, "Put your fucking phone away." And thankfully there was no one in the seat next to me, but the guy who was one seat down then joined in and was like, "Yeah, dude, what the fuck?" So thankfully he stopped, but it was just like,
your own vigilante justice.
Come on. Like, what? Like, they have this whole thing of like, please silence your cell phones. God, it is the worst. But
well,
anyways, how has the Batman been performing in their box office opening weekend? So according to Box Office Mojo, this film so far, we are recording this on Sunday night of the opening weekend. And apparently domestically, it has made $128.5 million. Internationally, it has made $120 million, which brings its total worldwide to $248.5 million that it's been making. Good stuff.
Yeah, we saw it in a big theater that had a lot of, it looked like groups of people in it. Like, to get to our seats, we like walk down a row of what looked like maybe a dozen youths who were all there together.
Gotcha. Yeah. So good stuff. Well, that said, we are about to get into spoilers, but first we will do a bit of housekeeping, and then we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and a thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/the Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you'd like to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you to Sam. We love you a lot.
Thanks, Sam.
We appreciate you. It means a ton. Cool things that we've been up to here at the Whatnauts. If you guys want more Batman content, we are covering the Court of Owls on the review show. This is the first 2 volumes of Batman from DC's New 52 initiative. It's written by Scott Snyder with art by Greg Capullo, and there's some backup stories in there by James Tynion IV. So I highly recommend it. It's one of the most highly acclaimed Batman stories of the past decade or so, almost decade and a half now. But yeah, it's a great story. We recorded that this morning, but it will be out in a couple days after this goes live. So that will be
Review
on
Core, Reactor Core, always fast tracked. Review show every Wednesday.
Indeed. So be on the lookout for that. And then in honor of the Riddler here in the Batman, over on the Captain's Log, Melissa wanted me to challenge her with some riddles, some Riddler riddles, to be precise. So I went back into some of the comics and the movies and shows and all of that stuff and looked up some of the riddles that Riddler had used previously, and I asked those to Melissa to see if she could solve them. So go check that out too. That's on the Captain's Log, which is our weekly pop culture feed, which should be out the same time that this is out. So you guys
we talk about movie news, and we play silly games like this.
Oh yeah, it's good fun. Good fun indeed. I say we get on to spoilers, though. Let me hit that spoiler button. Here we are in spoilers.
I would like to say first off that we've been reading Court of Owls this week, which is a story that it was theorized that this movie may take some elements from. And I'm not a big comics reader, so it's rare that I am prepared with source material knowledge before I go into a comic book movie. And like the night before I went to go see it, my brother Jam stopped by and he mentioned like that he had gone to see it and we were talking about it, and he's like, it's one of the most original Batman stories I've ever seen. I'm like, I read that comic and it isn't involved at all. I still spent valuable time with that comic. It was great. Read Court of Owls. It's a really good introduction point if you're not a big comics reader also. And I think there are thematic similarities between that story and this movie. But yeah, this movie seems, you can tell what it's inspired by, but it is a wholly original story. And I did really like it.
To go off of that, then I will say this. In interviews, both the director and Robert Pattinson have been kind of not hinting at, but saying that, hey, if they do a sequel, Court of Owls might be something they would like to explore.
I think it would fit right into what they could developed in this movie.
Absolutely. And this movie in particular was definitely influenced by one of these stories that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo did a little bit after Court of Owls in their run, Batman Zero Year, which it involves the city being flooded and kind of like nature retaking it, and it's Batman's first year. He has to take down the Riddler, all that stuff there. And I would say since it's also like a year 2 Batman story, I would say Batman the Long Halloween is also another influence on this, which is
story opens on Halloween.
My favorite Batman stories, and yeah, it starts on Halloween there. So good stuff. I think it's original in the sense that it's taking from a lot of different things and then combining it into something new. It's not like this is Batman 0 year and they just changed the title to The Batman. It's not that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had good fun with this. So
that one say movie starts, just giant letters across the screen, The Batman. Which I always like. I always like when the title of a movie fills up the entire screen.
Absolutely. But yeah, so this movie basically opens up. So just to reiterate, we often do the broad strokes of the plot. We don't necessarily go beat by beat or scene by scene, but just some of the broad strokes here. So this opens up with the murder of the current mayor of Gotham. And we get to see like the start of the film through Riddler's mask. We get to see his perspective. And then shortly after that, we get to see Bruce's perspective. He's walking through the city. His narration is playing on top of it. And it's very much kind of like Rorschach in Watchmen, as he's talking on top of this. We get to see Batman stalking a group of thugs through the city, who he ends up beating up and saving someone. And man, he is just brutal. Like when he beats up that first dude, he does not hold back. And God, it is scary. But our first Easter egg is right there. In this group of thugs. I saw this immediately and was like, I recognize that actor. That's weird. So there is a kid who is being inducted into this gang. And they're I guess having him go beat someone up or kill someone. And the actor that plays him, I don't remember the guy's name, but he is the same actor that plays Tim Drake in Titans, in HBO Max's Titans show, focused on, of course, the Teen Titans. Tim Drake is Robin, is one of them. So it was just neat to be like, hey, that guy, he's Robin, but he's not, but he is. So yeah, that was fun to get to see him there.
Immediately in the movie, very quickly, it's established that even though this is a Batman who is newer, he's only been around for 2 years, he is successfully scaring the city. We see petty crimes happen. We see somebody in a Halloween mask rob a convenience store. And as they leave, they sort of peer over their shoulder at the shadows in the alley. That. And you think Batman's going to jump out, and he doesn't. But this shows you that he's already a frightful enough force. He's been established as so mysterious, so unpredictable, so violent that, the average street criminal is, maybe they're not deterred, but they're watching out for Batman. They know he could be around the corner.
He can't be everywhere, but he could be somewhere. He could be right there, which I loved. I thought that because this is the first Batman movie that I get it. Like Batman is inciting fear, which is his purpose. It's his goal. That's what he wanted to do when he picked, like, I'm going to become a bat. That was his whole goal, and it works in this. I loved that. I was like, just focusing on this dark shadow that he could come out and just step out of, but then nothing. Just like, fuck.
And his narration in his narration says when the bat signal is up in the sky, it isn't just a signal. It isn't just a call for help. It is a warning. When that signal's in the sky, every criminal in Gotham they look over their shoulder. They wonder if they're the person Batman who could be coming for.
Yeah. Speaking of Batman's presence, we do get to see Batman brought to the crime scene of this murder, and the room is just lined with cops and all sorts of people working the scene. And he steps in, and he's just walking in real slow, and he just like I don't know if they did some tricks to shoot this scene. I don't know how tall Robert Pattinson is, but he's a small guy. I feel like that one scene where you see him moving the table later on in the film, he's not the big muscly like Ben Affleck Batman that we saw there.
Yeah.
This guy's scrawny, but it's the suit that like makes him look big, but not in a way that
he's
like
not scrawny, but he is on the slimmer side compared to most other Batmen. Yeah,
sure, yeah, but like it's definitely the suit that makes him bigger, but it's not a suit that makes it look like, dude, that's like 3 sizes too large. What the hell, dude? Like
you're wearing your dad's Batman suit to work like a big boy.
Right. I mean, it is Halloween after all. But like somehow in that suit, he has this much more commanding presence, which is fascinating because everyone in the room just stops and is like, "That's Batman! Oh my god, that's Batman! Holy shit! Like that's Batman! Oh my god!"
And there's a lot of shots of his feet too, and you see how big and heavy his boots are, which has never been a part of other Batman stories. We never had a close-up on Michael Keaton's boots.
Yep. You know what they say about big feet? Big batarangs. So
right.
Yeah. But yeah, so here at this crime scene, Batman's looking around. We get our first clue from the Riddler. Melissa, did you keep up with all of the like marketing and the stuff, like the ciphers that they were putting out?
I would go to New Rock Stars and watch Eric Voss break it down. I don't do anything firsthand. I only experience life secondhand through what you and my brothers and Eric Voss tells me.
Good stuff. Yeah, I did not keep up with the marketing. I didn't watch all this stuff. I did not know that this is something they were really doing in the posters and trailers and stuff like that. But yeah, apparently all these symbols were on there. You could get some cipher. They were like, all the marketing was revealing like a different letter at a time of this alphabet to solve this clue. Which they did some neat stuff with that now that I do know a bit about it. But this first clue, the guy's thumb is cut off. The cipher leads them to the word drive, which leads them to the car, but they're looking for a thumb drive. It's kind of cheesy, kind of corny, but I loved it.
This
it
is
was
the
good.
clue your dad leaves. That's a real dad clue. The thumb drive.
It is, yeah. But it worked in the film. It is the like Batman, like it's not smart enough for Batman, but it's just dumb enough for the cops that they don't get it.
Right.
And so yeah, with the thumb drive, they find pictures of the mayor with this girl. They don't really know who she is exactly. And that
they're leaving. The photos are of the mayor and this girl with a big black eye. It's very apparent he's the one who beat her up or had somebody else beat her up on his command, and they're leaving the Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah. The Iceberg Lounge, of course, belonging to Oswald Cobblepot, a.k.a. the Penguin. And so, yeah, we see Bruce Wayne stepping in to go meet Oswald there. Before we continue, do you have any other kind of stuff about the start of the film that you want to say or mention?
I like that after this night, after he, he beats up these thugs, he does let the initiate thug go free. He is not beat up. Batman can tell this is an initiate. You're not a real criminal. You might have been peer pressured into this. He just spooks him and the kid runs off. After this, he does that and he goes to this crime scene. When he goes home, and he's not in a Wayne Manor. He's in like a Wayne Tower that is downtown, and he just drives his motorcycle straight through Gotham into their like underground garage. He goes home and he writes this in a journal, and you realize that what he's been narrating is his diary. And I'm like,
today I beat up 3 criminals. It was great.
That's the most emo part of all, is that he keeps these journals.
Well, it's journals, but he has labeled them the Gotham Project.
Yes.
So it is. I don't want to say it's a science experiment, but it is a very not doctorly like way to look at that. I'm not sure what the right word is there, but it's a very measured and methodical approach to how he's dealing with things, which is kind of interesting, right? Like, go ahead.
No, it's nice to have that perspective on it, that it is labeled Gotham Project and not Revenge Project, not Justice Project. It is specifically about
crime.
It's about influencing his city, bettering his city in some way. And that is the arc of him in this movie, is learning, is realizing what he has done for Gotham and what he could do for Gotham.
Absolutely. Yeah, what else about the back? Okay, so this is also where we first meet Alfred, right? He's the one that helps to solve the cipher. Andy Serkis is playing him. I think he makes a good Alfred.
Great job. Yeah. I always love an Alfred.
That seems like he has had the military experience just by the build of him there, which I like the butler version of, like, I think that's what I think of when I think of when I think of Alfred. But I do also like the military experience. Like, that is how he's so measured. That's how he knows how to have things on a schedule, and how he knows how to like fix and stitch up Bruce and take care of him and stuff like that. So I think I feel like we didn't get enough Alfred in
this,
but I did like what we got here.
Yes, so. I could have used with more Alfred, but I think this is a really solid introduction. And I like that this is a take on the character that is a little different than what we have seen in the past. You mentioned he's got more of a muscular build. He comes out with a cane. And at some point he mentions how he should have protected the Waynes. And you wonder if he was in more of a bodyguard position as opposed to being a traditional butler. And there are stories about how Bruce lives under the shadow of Thomas Wayne. And this is a story almost about how Alfred has lived under the shadow of Thomas Wayne. Like him and Bruce butt heads. Like Bruce has to get dressed up to go to the mayor's funeral later on in the movie. And Alfred's like, you're not even wearing cufflinks. You can't go out like that not wearing cufflinks. You're a Wayne. And he takes his own cufflinks off and gives them to him. And there are these monogrammed W Wayne family cufflinks. And Bruce is like, are you a Wayne? And he's like, your father gave them to me. like at some point, he literally does say, you're not my dad. And Alfred's like, I know. Like, you could tell they've been through this. This is an Alfred who always has
relationship. Yeah.
This is an Alfred who has been trying to step into the surrogate father role for this young boy, and this boy has never exactly taken to it, has always sort of chafed against it. And this is a tension and a regret and a bitterness that this Alfred lives with now.
It's an interesting one because there's bits and pieces of Batman's history that we don't know yet, or we might assume in this. Like, I just assume if they don't tell me the Batman origin story, that he still spent years abroad studying martial arts,
True,
being a
yeah.
ninja, all that stuff. But again, they don't tell us that in this here. So we don't know how much actual like combat training Bruce has or stuff like that. So I'm wondering if that exasperation between them has something to do with that. Maybe it is the fact that Bruce did run away and do all of that stuff. And now with the training, maybe he's kind of treated Alfred like he thinks he knows it all, and there's all that all that stuff. Could be the opposite, where maybe he didn't do all those years abroad, and Alfred sees this guy just kind of wasting away and then doing this really weird thing where he's dressing up as a bat, and like just something's wrong with this kid, right? Like there might be some exasperation from both sides of those that spectrum there. We don't know. But yeah, I like the mystery in that relationship. So
I like to see the ones that are closer friends. I think Christian Bale and Michael Caine, they had a pretty solid friendship. All the 90s Batman and Michael Gough also was solid Alfred. Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons, they're a closer pair than these two are. Jeremy Irons was a good Alfred. I wish we got to spend more time with him. But I like that this is a relationship that isn't there yet and is still in the works.
Yeah.
I like that we get to see it progress, whereas in most of the other movies, the Batman-Alfred dynamic is pretty static.
Yep. Indeed. Cool. Well, let's move on a little bit here. So we got up to the Iceberg Lounge. We get to meet Penguin for the first time. And Batman is questioning him like, hey, this woman was here at this time. This guy was here. What was happening? And of course, Penguin is playing coy of just like, I don't who knows? There's so many people that walk through here. How do I know what they do? And enter Selena Kyle. Batman kind of immediately recognizes that she recognizes the woman in the picture. They're wearing the same boots. So he goes to follow her, and turns out Selena Kyle knows who this woman is. And Batman is interested. He goes to question her. They end up working together, which takes place a little bit down the road there. They go back into the Iceberg Lounge. There's like a club under the club, the 44 below, I believe is what they called it. And it is for Gotham's elite, the VIP, right? This is where all the drugs are, where the crime would be, whereas the upstairs is more like, this is for everyone. It's fun. It's a good time. There's nothing to see here, cops. See, it's just some alcohol. That's fine, right?
Don't pay attention to all the drugs we're moving around.
Yeah, that's all downstairs. But yeah, we get introduced to Selena Kyle. What did you think of Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle?
Perfectly cast. Looks wonderful. She was an actor I wasn't as familiar with, so I watched Kimmy earlier this week to get to know her a little better. She's got wonderful physicality. Like, she just moves her body. Like, her posture, the way she walks in that movie is really precise. And I think that lends well to being a Catwoman.
For sure. Yeah. I've seen her in a number of stuff. I've liked her in all sorts of things there. I thought she was great in this. I thought she was spectacular. I believe it's Batman Year One, the portrayal of her. She does have shorter hair. It is she uses wigs and disguises and all that stuff. So to see her like that in this was like, okay, this is more like kind of what I know from a classic take on that, which is neat. I liked the Bat and Cat stuff, the Batman Catwoman
Yes.
romance is always fantastic. It's super sexy. I thought they nailed it with this without it derailing the story.
And it
there
always
was no sex scene. There was no stuff. Like they did kiss, but you could feel the flirtatiousness between them, which I thought was stellar.
Or at least from her to him. This is a Batman very, very close to
which
is
I like. Kind of what it is in the comics a lot of the times too, where he's just like, but I am the Batman. I must do my one-man war against crime. And then she's just sitting there like, I just want to kiss you right now, though. Like, we could take a couple minutes to do that, couldn't we?
Yeah. And this movie takes place over
it was great.
6 or 7 days. And every time you check in with them, the level of trust and of camaraderie they have between the two of them, I think it's well paced. It never feels like they know each other better than they would have after just a couple days.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. So after we meet Selena Kyle and she gets questioned and all that stuff, and we kind of figure out what's happening, let's see here. The commissioner is the next to bite the dust. The commissioner gets murdered. He has rats that eat his face because they're locked on some cage that's in his. It's gruesome.
And he was also like they Riddler shot him with rat poison and then did this thing to him, which means the rats are also going to die, which is that's the meanest thing the Riddler does in the whole movie. Why did those rats have to die from eating the guy's face?
For cinema, Melissa, for cinema.
I mean, I don't know if a rat ate a guy's face. I don't know if that's healthy for a rat. I don't know if a rat lives necessarily after it does that, but don't eat the guy's face when it's poisoned.
I was going to say, probably not a guy that's been injected with rat poison.
Exactly. They might have lived otherwise. I don't know.
Oh, well.
Just unnecessary, Riddler. Very mean.
But the clue that they get off of that murder indicates there's probably going to be a bomb next. This is then when we see Batman and Catwoman team up. She goes into the 44 below. This is where she meets the DA there. And he's the one that gets kidnapped. But this is also where we first get a look at Falcone. And we don't understand the relationship yet unless you are a comic book reader and you know that Catwoman is his daughter. It's still we don't know that stuff yet. It is just this like awkward kind of like, okay, they know each other. Interesting. They seem to have some kind of relationship, and I think the assumptions are it's maybe a little pervier than you would expect. But yeah, the DA kidnapped, and he's the next one to bite the dust here.
Yeah, I want to say briefly that I liked this DA. I liked that he was not as much of a creep as you would have expected going into that scene, and he's more of a sad sack. He's very pathetic. He's very stressed out and scared. I like that among all of these corrupt Gotham officials, there was some slight variation between them.
Yeah, he's corrupt and very very obviously so, but in a way that, yeah, like you said, like you can tell he's just scared. Like he's not the crime boss. He's the one being pushed around, and he's just kind of gotten into this life. This is what you do now. You go down to the 44 below and use their eye drugs, like from Loper, and do all of that stuff. But yeah, so the next big scene we get is the funeral scene here. All of the big Gothamites are coming out to this funeral to pay their respects to the mayor. And this is when there was a scene earlier on when the mayor got murdered, and there's a scene here at the funeral when Bruce is looking at the son
Yeah.
of that, which I thought was great touches
Yes.
in this film. That he has this understanding of what this kid is going through, but is also just such a completely different person from this kid or from who he was when he was a kid, that he kind of doesn't know how to relate and just awkwardly stares. And
like he doesn't go over. Right. Like when he sees the kid, and it also like the kid found his dad's dead body, which really affects Bruce. Bruce is so affected by this kid. He relates to this kid. Every time this kid is around, when he sees him as he's leaving the crime scene, when he sees him at the funeral, he just stops and stares at this kid. But you're right. He doesn't go over to the kid and say like, hey, bud, how are you holding up? I've been there, somewhere similar, and this is what really helped me during this time. No, he has no capacity to comfort. He only has the capacity to brood.
Yeah, like that's exactly it. It's this brooding stare. It's not even like he's looking at the kid, and then when the kid looks, he like smiles and is just like, I'm sorry, or like, has some kind of emotion. It is just this straight, like, very like stern stare. And it like, I feel like it creeped out the kid, but they just never explore that, because he's just like, why does this guy keep looking at me? Like, what the hell?
Right. And I imagine, but like, if the kid did tell his mom, and his mom would be like, oh, that's Bruce Wayne. Like, he lost both of his parents when he was about your age. He probably, he feels sad for you. I do like that when the Riddler drives this car, like remote control, or he's making the DA do it, but the car like plows straight into the funeral. I like that Bruce saves the kid. I like that not just Batman got to save this kid, but Bruce himself got to save the kid. And I imagine for the other people there at the funeral, and Bruce Wayne in the story, like, he never goes out. He's a recluse. He shows up at this funeral and people are like, whoa, Bruce Wayne, you still exist. Hi. I imagine it would touch people for them to, see, oh, our city's most famous orphan saved a boy whose dad just died.
Yeah. Yeah, so I loved this scene. I love how there is this buildup of tension at the funeral when you start to hear the noises outside. You start to hear the screams. You start to hear the crashes. You start to hear and it's just like they all, like, the heads are turning. They know something is happening, but you don't know. And the camera just stays inside. It won't show you what's out there.
No.
Just like it never showed you what was in those shadows when the criminals looked back. And so you just get this, like, anticipation, this tension of, like, something is coming. Something is happening. What is happening?
And they're in this
phenomenal.
They're in this cathedral in the middle of the day, and it's just lit by like the sort of weak sunlight coming in through the big windows,
Very overcast.
And he's seen, and Bruce like turns around and looks up at like the balcony where the choir is, and it's backlit by this window, and it's all these faceless forms, like they're so blocked out by the light you can't see them. And he turns around again, and there's just one figure left, and that's the Riddler, even if there's nothing distinctive about his shape.
Yep. Absolutely. That scene was neat. So the DA then steps out. He has this bomb attached to his neck, and the Riddler is there, being like, "Hey, you have to solve these riddles to escape this, to survive." And so, of course, Batman walks in to help out. But we haven't really spoken about the Riddler and his plan yet. And I think this is the perfect time to do that, because what he's trying to do is basically expose this corruption within the city, that, hey, there was this thing that happened, this plot. There was this rat that now a bunch of these city officials and important people are protecting. There is a corruption here that no one is speaking about. And the Riddler is actually trying to do something good. He's going about it in a terrible way,
Mm-hmm.
but he's trying to expose this corruption. And it leads back to this rat, this person that that the people are protecting. And the DA refuses to give this rat up on this third riddle. He says, no, because if I do that, then they'll know that I gave him up. They'll go after my family, my kids, like all that stuff. So
and it's like, I can't tell anybody this. Like, it is bad for you to know this. Like, this will break your brain. How deep all of the corruption and all of the secrets go. Like, I hate knowing this. I don't want you to know this.
Yeah. So because he keeps his mouth shut, kaboom! He blows up, knocks Batman back. He gets brought into the police station, and he wakes up, and Gordon helps him escape. And he jumps off of the building and has the like squirrel suit to help him glide down. That was a great
wild
scene.
Because that is, and the Batman's equipment that we've seen so far, he's got this cool like retina like lens, this like contact lens that he pops in that like records video. And when Selena Kyle goes into the 44 Below Club, he's able to give it to her, which is very cool tech. So then when he pulls out this flying squirrel suit, it is lower tech than anything I imagine I would see from the other Batmen in that flight regard. Like, I feel like everybody else, like they flap out their arms and they've got the like more legitimate bat-like looking wing type equipment and they're able to glide. This, like the flying squirrel suit
stuff, like Iron Man, or something like that is what you might expect. But no, he just has this squirrel suit.
It's surprisingly lo-fi, and I kind of liked that. Like, we can see that this is a Batman that hasn't been able to get everything maybe the way he wants it yet. Like, maybe he focused on that iris cam and is like, I guess I'll make some sort of flight suit.
2 years in, right? So
exactly.
He maybe hasn't had the need to build all these things out yet, right?
Yeah.
Where he knows, like, okay, probably don't want to get like tasered or something, so we'll make it shock proof. Probably don't want to get burned, so we'll make it fire proof, stuff like that. But just like, when the fuck am I gonna have to like jump off of a bit? Well, it's possible, but I doubt it, and I don't really want to just be carrying around like a big old jet propulsion thing on my back for a just in case. So let's just do a squirrel suit, a thing to glide.
And I feel like that exists. Like, if you went to some specialty like hiking, camping, outdoors, hang gliding store.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like a civilian could get that. I did like that variety that he's got very classically Batman high-tech stuff, and then some of his other things are more like, I adapted something you could buy from a store.
You can watch all sorts of YouTube videos of people in their squirrel suits with the GoPros attached on their head there. That's wild stuff.
And I like that it's shot like from his perspective, like swooping down over Gotham. Kind of reminded me of like the shot you'd see in The Amazing Spider-Man or something.
Sure. Yeah. Indeed. So the one ridiculous thing that I liked about this scene, but also was just like, this is stupid, like, is that immediately when he clocks Gordon and runs out, just the building just floods with cops out of every door, at least 20 of them from every door. He goes up like 20 flights of stairs. How have they gotten the word up there yet? And they're all just pouring out, and it's just like, this is kind of like Agent Smith in the Matrix, where just copies and copies of them just flooding out. At that scene, I was just like, this is stupid, but it's great. I love it.
And I love that when he takes off in his squirrel suit, he crashes and rolls like 30 feet. It is a rough landing.
Yeah.
I was almost surprised that didn't have a bit more of an effect on him through the rest of the movie. He is pretty battered by the end of it.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see here. So we did the funeral, all that stuff. Batman
they confront
escapes,
the
jumps
penguin.
off the tower.
Jeffrey Wright yells. Jeffrey Wright, very good. Haven't mentioned him specifically yet. Love a Jeffrey Wright anytime.
Yeah, let's talk about Gordon then. What did you think of Gordon in this? His relationship with Batman and all of that.
Just a solid Gordon. I like that he is the only one who trusts Batman, is willing to work with him, to cooperate with him. At least, now, what are your feelings on this? Can I get your perspective? We are contemporaries of a type. I want to know what you're thinking. And even he is like, why am I doing? Why are you doing this, Jim?
Yeah.
Is this really going to work out? But he still does it. And I like that he's also frustrated that after 2 years, he doesn't know anything more about the Batman. I like that he'll call him man sometimes. Like, what are you looking at there, man? It's just very casual. He doesn't know what else to call him.
In New Rockstars, they mentioned that they actually refer to the Batman as Vengeance more than they do Batman.
Yeah,
he introduces himself as "I am Vengeance," right? So like,
Vengeance.
like they call him that more than they do it's Batman, right? I really enjoyed this Gordon. I thought he felt a lot like the Gordon from Batman Year One. Or that, like a continuation of that Batman, right? Because in Batman Year One, that story is actually a Jim Gordon story, and about how he is also coming to the city at the same time as Bruce Wayne returning. He's just starting to make a name for himself amongst the cops, and as we see in this, he's not the commissioner yet, right? And so, it feels like he's gotten to Gotham, has experienced the corruption in both the politics and as well as, I'm sure, some in the force too. But I'm sure he doesn't necessarily know the extent of that, as we see when he, like, Batman will say something, he's just like, that guy too? Like, who isn't corrupt here?
Yeah.
But I liked the gruffness, but also the, like, I'm too old for this shit. Like, without saying that, but like that's the kind of vibes he gives off. But but like, you can tell he's on his way to be the next commissioner. Like, he's the one who will be that. And so he is being like, Batman, like, help you, throw me a bone here, dude. Like, help me out here.
I liked their relationship.
Their relationship was good.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this spin-off, this like Jim Gordon focused spin-off, which I think I read something today that it is going to be more Arkham focused. I don't know exactly what that means.
Interesting.
And I don't know how true that is. So take that with a grain of salt there. Because I don't know much about what they plan to do.
What's particularly interesting about that is that in this movie, and I'm not familiar with this being the case in any other Batman media, you can correct me, I don't know that much, Martha's maiden name is Arkham. Is that totally new? Has that happened before?
I don't think that's the typical case in the comics.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is in there somewhere in some story.
I think it's briefly mentioned somewhere. We just read Court of Owls that her maiden name was Kane, presumably after Bob Kane, Bill Kane, the Batman's dad, the man who made Batman, which is very nice. Yes.
But Kane is also
that's
a well-known Gotham name. Kate Kane is Batwoman. So there is some history with the Kane name in Gotham in the comics, outside of just the tip of the hat to the creators. So.
Yeah. But yeah, her maiden name is Arkham. Arkham Asylum was founded by her family. This is attached to the Wayne legacy. So more so than in any other Batman media, exploring Arkham's got a new layer to it in this canon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for all the spin-off stuff that they do, because I liked this one a lot.
We're gonna get a Penguin one too. Have we gotten to the car chase part yet? Because that car chase is terrific.
We're like right there. This is like the next thing. So after the DA explodes and Batman jumps off, basically this next clue. Wait, where am I here? Yeah, this next clue leads them back to the Penguin. Basically, they track him down to the docks. They see him transporting all this money from the drugs. He seems like this Maroni drug bust that they mention in this movie maybe didn't actually happen, and it just actually changed names of like, well, now Falcone has this, now the Penguin is working it, and so they track him down to the docks, where Selena also finds the body of her friend in the car. That was like her whole purpose of that stuff. But this is where we then see the Batmobile as Penguin tries to make his escape, and there is this incredible car chase.
Yes,
in there. Talk to me. This was amazing.
First off, I love when they shackle the Penguin and they leave him shackled, and he just has to waddle around. Perfect way to fit that in without breaking the tone of anything. Yeah. I like that a lot. The debut of the Batmobile, like it arising from the shadows, it just lighting up, and like, I'm not a car chase person. I don't know anything about cars. I know the name of the one I have, and that's it. This isn't a Hyundai Elantra. It's far more advanced than that. But it just roars to life.
Driving a Honda or a Hyundai, it's just like the thing barely works.
My Hyundai works wonderfully. But I really like this car chase. I like that it's raining. We're driving down the highway. It's got all those like orange street lamps on it. It's lit beautifully. It's raining. It's so frantic and chaotic. They're like switching lanes. There's all these other cars on the road. There's so much damage. It's shot really well. It's not a big bombastic car chase like you would get in a Fast and Furious, I imagine, or like the one we saw in The Matrix recently. This feels like a real, desperate, messy, rain-soaked car chase.
Yeah. That scene is great. I want to say I liked the Batmobile, but I think this is more so a case of I don't feel like I got to see enough of it, and the times I did, it was in shadow, or it was covered up, or it was moving so fast that I can't really get a good look at it. So Batmobile was fine, I think. But that scene just got the scene when Cobblepot just looks back, and you see like his one eye as he's just like, did I get him? God, the shots are beautiful.
I got you.
Yeah, just so good.
Screaming and gloating, and then his car flips, and then he's upside down. And this shot was in the trailer, but it's wonderful to see it in context. He's upside down in the car, and there's been a fire. A tanker truck exploded. They broke many other cars, and there's Batman just cape flowing, stalking towards him upside down in a rainy, fiery
like
street.
A bat, hanging upside down like a bat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they eventually capture Penguin here, and they question him. Gordon finally catches up in his regular car, his regular cop car.
He'd drive a Hyundai Elantra, and he'd like it.
He might, yeah. So when they're starting to question Penguin, they realize that their line of thinking might be wrong. They think that this clue is Spanish somehow, and it kind of is.
Yeah.
But it has this double entendre, this double meaning, right? Where it leads them to a website. And
I liked this
Batman
twist.
Logs on
that the clue is URL Rata Alada. And they're like, oh, rat with wings. You're like a stool pigeon. We got to find this person. And they're telling the Penguin about this. And he's like, you idiots, you don't know how to conjugate anything. That should be you are la Rata Alada. That's a feminine noun. And at first I thought then we're going to shift directions and there would be some woman of corruption. None of these characters tied to all the crime or any ladies.
I was kind of thinking may happen because that's kind of what happens in Long Halloween, is that it ends up being a woman, right? This maybe didn't have as much of an influence on it, but Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh,
the Phantasm is a woman, right? With this whole plot about which we're about to get to at a sec here with Selena revealing that she's Falcone's daughter. There's something like it could have been a woman, right? Which is what I was maybe starting to think. But
I do like that misdirection is in there to get across the phrase URL. This is a website. Yes. Type in rataalada.com.
Yeah. Which we will circle back around to that later on in the show here. But yeah, so they get this website, they get their next clue, and basically this leads them to an orphanage that Thomas Wayne, I guess, had donated to or created as part of his like rejuvenation of the city. And stuff like that. And that's where they find out that the next victim is going to be Bruce Wayne. And so Batman takes off and is like, shit, Alfred is the only one there. And I don't remember the maid's name. They have a maid.
I think her name's Dory.
I don't know if she's a character from the comics at all or not. But yeah, they had a maid too. So he's like frantically calling to be like, Alfred, pick up don't open my mail.
Yeah,
all that stuff. And they do this really neat thing where Dory picks up and he's just like, put Alfred on right now, like do all this. And it turns out that the bomb has already exploded. And you don't get that yet. But Alfred very quickly realizes it's a bomb, barely escapes. But he does get hurt. He does get knocked out. So he has to go to the hospital and do all of that stuff. So that would have been very sad if Alfred died in this. Would not have been a good thing for that emo boy version of Batman. Man.
We're shaping up to have a great Alfred, and he does go see him in the hospital later. Bruce does, and we'll get to that when we get to that, because we need to explain some Thomas and Martha stuff first.
So before we mention the Thomas and Martha stuff, this is also where Selena reveals that she is Falcone's daughter. So that kind of recontextualizes the relationship that we've seen them have there, and it's less pervy and more just like, it's meant to be fatherly, but also it is so strained a relationship that neither of them talk about it. They both know it. It seems like they each know it on their own, but neither of them have confronted one another about it.
Right. Yeah, so when he reaches out and like strokes her cheek, it's tauntingly fatherly.
Yes.
Not sincerely fatherly.
Exactly. but in a way that he's also not revealing that he's
Mhm.
her father, even though she
Mm.
knows it, but she doesn't know that he knows it. Yeah, it's complicated.
Mm.
But then we get the Riddler's next video, his next clue. And this is where it kind of reveals the history of the Waynes and the Arkhams and kind of
Yes.
the dark secrets of both of those families. How the
Yeah.
Arkhams created this asylum, how Martha's parents had this murder-suicide, and the reporter that broke it was murdered too. Like all of the stuff, and just these dark secrets.
Yeah, her mom had killed her father and then killed herself, and it was covered up, and everyone was told that they died in an accident. And Martha spent a lot of time under mental care throughout her life after dealing with that. And this was also hidden away. And then when Thomas Wayne was running for mayor, there was a reporter who threatened to release this to tell everybody, I found out that the Arkhams really had this murder-suicide, and Martha's been ill, and she's been in the asylum. And Thomas Wayne had that quieted down, and that reporter died.
Yeah. That reporter is maybe potentially our next Easter egg here. So that reporter is not necessarily anyone of note, but his last name could be. The reporter's name was Edward Elliot. And Tommy.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I cannot speak, but you guys know the last name. That's the name of the Batman villain, Hush. Which, when they mention all of that, the name Hush is written in big bold letters right there on that. So it's one of those things. It's not exactly an Easter egg. It could be nothing, but considering this guy was murdered, could potentially have left behind a family to grow up grieving of never finding out what happened, or maybe they did somehow. Maybe they knew it was tied up in the Waynes there. But for those of you guys who aren't familiar with Hush, he is a character from Bruce Wayne's past who wanted to be like Bruce Wayne so much that in the comics he ends up murdering his own parents so that he can be an orphan too. And then ends up trying to get like skin samples and make skin grafts of Bruce Wayne's skin and get plastic surgery to get them like on him, make it look like him. It's sick and twisted and demented, but could potentially be something that maybe happens in a sequel. We could see something like that, and it would fit in this weird, fucked up, dark Batman world that we have in this movie here. But yeah, so that we get a bunch of this history of the Waynes and all of that. And let's see, the truth behind Martha's parent, blah, 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 and Arkham for years. So around this time, Bruce then goes to Falcone to kind of confront him and all of this stuff. And this is where Falcone tries to lull him, convince him to be on his side. Just like, hey, like it's okay. Like I'm on your side, you're on my side. This reporter was after your family. It's a good thing that he's dead here. Like, and it was not me. It was Maroni that was trying to kill your parents. And that's how, getting mixed up in all of this is just how this reporter died here.
And there was a bit earlier in the movie where Bruce Wayne is at the mayor's funeral and he meets Falcone. Falcone's like, came to your house once when you were a kid. Do you remember that? And where he had gotten shot in some nefarious mob dealing and he knew he couldn't go to the hospital. They'd asked too many questions, but he needed help. So he just went to famous Dr. Thomas Wayne's house. And Thomas just fixed him up, just did a surgery there on the dining room table with Bruce like watching from up on the stairs.
Yeah.
So there is a connection. There is some favor that is owed between between Falcone and Wayne.
Absolutely. And so with this news, Bruce kind of doesn't really know what to do with it yet exactly. So he goes to visit Alfred in the hospital, where Alfred wakes up and clarifies, no, that's not what happened. Your father was going to sell out Falcone and get him in trouble that same night, the night that this reporter died, and the same night your parents died. So it wasn't Maroni, but I can't exactly prove that it was Falcone, but all signs point to it was him. He is the bad guy here. He is this rat. Is essentially what this all leads to here. This is the one that everyone is protecting, that all of these officials are protecting, that Riddler is trying to expose, that this was all Falcone's doing here.
And he says that Thomas wanted, he didn't want any of that information hidden for like public image reasons. He wanted it hidden just because that is painful for Martha. He just didn't want her to go through any of that grief. And he had gone to Falcone because that Falcone did owe him a favor, and he's like, the worst he might have done is ask him to just intimidate that reporter slightly. And Alfred's like, I know your father never imagined that man would end up dead. He just didn't want these secrets that your mother, like very personal, private information that she just didn't want out there. That's all he ever intended to do. And I'm happy about that. I was worried that this movie would give us something too dark about Thomas and Martha. And we were talking earlier today when we discussed Court of Owls that these are characters that are often put on a pedestal, and Batman, is almost naive about how good they were. And I like when they have characterization added on to them, that they are characters of perhaps being slightly, a little morally gray or complicated, or they've done things that are regrettable. But I didn't want these characters ruined in Batman's eyes. I think that would have been a little too harsh, a little too unnecessarily painful. And I like that this is the story. There are dark secrets. There is pain. But they are altogether noble people who just want things kept quiet for the sake of their own honorable privacy and private grieving of terrible things that have happened in their past.
Absolutely. So as Bruce Wayne is kind of figuring this stuff out and figuring out what to do with this, Selena Kyle is also biting up the well, she finds out this info too, that yes, Falcone is the rat. He was the one that killed her friend, all of that stuff. And so she is biting up the nerve to go confront him and go kill him. When Bruce finds that out, he goes to stop her because Batman wants justice. But not murder, right? And he is kind of starting to like this Selena Kyle person. She's resourceful. She knows how to handle herself, and she's very attractive too. So, like he's like, hey, no, you if you cross that line here, that's not going to be a good thing. Like I'm gonna have to stop you after that, and I don't want that.
Yeah, I like what he says that. She says he has to pay for this, and he says, yes, but why should you also have to pay? He knows it is bad to kill a person. That feels bad for you to do. Like, that's why he doesn't do it. He will beat somebody up like heck, but he won't kill them. He has that line, and he encourages her to also have that line for the sake of her own sanity.
And it's interesting because Batman is in this film is depicted as very brutal.
Yes.
Like, just will not pull his punches. But something else I noticed too is that, yes, if he is like knocking people off a ledge or something like that, he is somehow attaching them to something. They're like, as we see down the road when the floodgates have exploded and stuff like that. Like, he's making sure he's knocking these people off that have like carabiners on them that are already attached to some. So they're just hanging there, right? They don't get like and not by the neck, but from some place where they can't really do much. They're just
they're just incapacitated.
Just sitting there. And then there is the scene when Selena Kyle finds out the cop that is playing both sides there, and like she kicks him off. Batman's first instinct is to like help him and save him. There. So it's just I don't think inconsistent is the right word. I don't think that it is complex though, where he is intentionally being brutal and stopping people, breaking noses and faces and arms and legs, and like he's hurting these guys real bad. And
you also wonder, with Thomas Wayne being a doctor, if Bruce has some knowledge of what is fatal to somebody and what is just very painful.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, just an interesting depiction of that. So yeah, he stops Selena Kyle from murdering Falcone. And I keep saying Falcone. That's how I've always said it in my head. Is that how they said it in the movie, or was it just Falcone?
I feel like in my history of being aware of Batman, I've heard both Falcone and Falcone. I forget how it's said in this movie.
I've always said Falcone. So if you guys have been yelling at me or commenting after you heard me saying that, you know what? Oh, well.
Is it at or AT Walker? I don't know that one either.
So they arrest him. They bring him outside. There's a bunch of cops outside waiting for him to happen. And then bam, he gets shot. He gets assassinated. He gets sniped. And Batman realizes that this is kind of the culmination of one of Riddler's riddles of bringing the rat out into the light. They're under a street light here, right in front of this building. And he looks up and he sees the sniper, and he's just like, that's him. That's the Riddler right there.
The Riddler's been living across the street from the Iceberg Lounge this whole time. That's how we got those photos from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Which apparently, according to the new Rockstars breakdown, there's a scene like when they first go to there, that you can see him in the window taking pictures of that. Like, just like, God, it was there the whole time. That's so cool. But yeah, so they go up there to find him. They don't capture him. He escapes. But they uncover much of his plan and what he was trying to accomplish. But then eventually they find out that he escaped only to go to the cafe right across the street there. So he knows this is kind of the end of the line. My plan is set in motion. Now it's up to the Batman to do the rest here. And so they go to arrest the Riddler, which you guys have seen in the trailers and stuff like that. And man, just the scene when they have his face down on the counter and he's looking out the window and he sees Batman step up, and just that smile that Paul Dano has. God, he's creepy as hell.
What a performance. I loved being teased with how long do I have to wait to get into this movie before I see Paul Dano's actual face.
Right. So what did you think of Paul Dano's performance as a whole? It sounds like you liked it, but I know
I do. It's
talked about his plan some, but not actually the character.
It's very chilling. Like from the first trailers we got with, if you are a criminal, do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye? Like there's so much going into how he reads the riddles. There's such a manic fluctuation with it. It's so intense. It's so passionate. Yeah, and I really like the scene where Batman goes to visit him in jail, and you realize that he has respected Batman enough as somebody who needed to invent an alter ego, much like he has needed to invent an alter ego, that he has never put it together that Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's never questioned who Batman is behind the mask. He just sees it as, oh, another person who wants justice in Gotham just like me. I'm the Riddler. Right. I don't care who I was before. I don't care who you were before. You're just the Batman. And I think we're friends. I think we're friends and we're partners and we're going to do this together. Yeah, everything he does with his voice, really impressive. I did like it a lot.
It reminded me a lot of the Iron Man 3 Mandarin. In a weird way. The way he does his live streams, the way he says his riddles, it's very performative, right? He's an actor on a stage, on this screen that is being broadcast to millions. But he does this weird accent. He emphasizes certain words that at first might seem strange, but then if like it is one of those things of like, he's kind of speaking in a way that like a Southern Baptist like preacher might, like the way a preacher emphasizes certain things and does that. Like he very, very much has this message and stance of like, this is what I believe. There should not be this corruption. And what do you get when you lie?
Yeah.
And you do this. And he has like, it's this bravado, right, that he has there.
Have you seen There Will Be Blood?
I have not. No.
He's in that, and he does play a preacher. You should watch There Will Be Blood. There is blood in it.
Heard good things. Cool. Good stuff.
Promises and Wonder Delivers contains blood and milkshake.
Yeah. I am a little bit conflicted on the Riddler's performance, though. I feel like at the end of the day, maybe he was a little more like right-wing conspiracy theorist than I was hoping for. Like, I don't mind a little bit of that sprinkled in, but I kind of wanted a little bit more of the like high-functioning sociopath, just like
understandable,
like, smart, just like like that is the Riddler that I know and love, right? Where he thinks he is the smartest guy in the room at all times. And he sees Batman as someone who can challenge that. And that's why he wants to, do all these riddles and puzzles and this and that. And this, like, I don't feel like he was truly like a bro, like a right wing, like he wasn't that fully right, but like it just a little bit more than I would have liked there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think I'm wild about stories of not necessarily cults, but about like mob mentality. When you learn that he is, we see him live streaming, to taunt the police, to taunt Gotham, but then you also find these sort of private live streams he's been doing where like he has a following of people that he had even before he started doing all of this, and he's been hatching plans with them, and they're like, I'll also get a cold weather combat mask, I'll also get a rifle, I'll also attack Gotham Square Garden. Yeah, that I like less than other stuff about him.
And it's not that I think that was a bad take or is a take that doesn't work. I think it works spectacularly.
It is effective.
It also does kind of hit close to home with the insurrection on January 6th, all of that stuff, like just the stuff that's been happening. It hits a little bit close to home in that. And while I think stories should cover that and depict scenes like that, right? And they just, like, not should is not the right word, but like we shouldn't necessarily shy away from stuff like that.
Yeah,
it is just like I felt they leaned instead of it being I felt it was maybe more like 50-50 that, where when we see him in the interrogation room there and he does start to get up and walk around and be like, no, like that is the more like high functioning sociopath that has gotten caught that I liked. But instead of it being, I'm not sure what you felt like the ratio was, but instead of like 50-50, maybe if it was more like 30-70, right? Just a hint of that stuff mixed in, I think it would have hit with me better.
Yeah. And in this scene, this confrontation between the two of them, we learn that the reason why he was targeting Bruce Wayne is that, the Wayne, Thomas and Martha, they came to his the orphanage where he grew up, and they promised that, Thomas Wayne, he's going to be elected mayor, he's going to improve this place, he's really going to renew the city. And then he dies, and his renewal plan is used as something for all these criminals to hide behind. They've been doing all these dirty dealings under the name of Thomas's renewal. And everybody cares so much about little Bruce Wayne, who lost his parents, but nobody cared about all the orphans that already existed before Bruce Wayne lost his parents.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting, very understandable motivation for him to have. And he's like, well, Bruce Wayne, he has all that money. He's rich. He'll be fine. Who cares? Which also makes you stop and think about how this is a less ostentatious Bruce Wayne than the other ones we have seen. Like, he really has no interaction with his wealth in any way. He doesn't have the sports car. He doesn't have the like, he puts on the suit for the funeral, but it doesn't seem like it's like, yes, this is a custom tailored Hugo Boss suit.
Yeah.
He's really so detached from all of that. He exists just as Batman. He spends his money only on Batman things. He doesn't spend his money on Bruce Wayne things. I don't think they have a private jet or anything. Or if he does have it, he never uses it. He's like, I just need to ride my motorcycle around Gotham and patrol for crime.
His Bruce Wayne is not the celebrity that we see Ben Affleck's Batman. It's not. He's not the like wealthy socialite that we see. God, what's his name from the Nolan ones?
Christian Bale.
Yeah, like he's not the like businessman socialite thing that we say there, but he is just this.
He's not a playboy at all.
He really is this like emo Kurt Cobain kind of figure. Who just like he is very, very different. He is a recluse, as we've mentioned, but he's also not. He is like very comfortable going out on the streets of Gotham, and that's where he feels like he fits in. But his hood
Batman's
up, his
always
on,
out there.
No one
but
can.
Bruce Wayne is never out there. This is as far as anyone knows.
Sure, yeah, as far as they know, but that's what I'm saying. Like his hood up, his hat on, they don't recognize him. He can just be a nobody. He can experience the city, and it's an interesting take, and I like it.
There's also no mention of like a Wayne company. The way there was with like the Christian Bale Batman movies, which are very concerned with like Wayne Corporation. There is briefly. I think Alfred does say I invited the accountants over for a breakfast meeting. And he's like, why? And he's like, because you won't leave the house. So I have to make them come here.
Come here. Yeah.
Wake up, eat a blueberry. Yeah, and it seems like this is a Wayne family and or company that is in not doing so well. The money is running tight because Bruce keeps paying for squirrel suits and and iris cams.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, so I think after all of that, let's see where we're right at the end here.
Yeah, we're getting close to this climax. There's been the mayoral election happening. We haven't mentioned Bella Real. She was running against the incumbent mayor who was murdered at the beginning of the movie. It is now election day. She has won. And she's having this big celebration party. Like it was going to be regardless of whether I win or lose, come to Gotham Square Garden, watch the results come in with me. We'll all be together. It'll be a community event. She ends up winning. It's going to be this big celebration.
Yeah. While that is happening, Batman ends up uncovering the Riddler's true end game here. There is a clue that he missed the first time. He then goes back and uncovers this map of Gotham. There's these 7 blinking lights where bombs are gonna go off, and that they're all along the like dams, the like water containment wall things. Yeah.
I liked this a lot because there's all these stories about morally broken Gotham, the emotionally broken Gotham, and within the moral corruption, there are there's like buildings that are decrepit or derelict or falling apart. This is, I think, the first portrait of Gotham that I have seen where the literal foundations of the city are literally broken. There's not just like a slum. Yeah. Like the place where everybody lives, rich or poor, good or bad, everybody in Gotham, they're living in a city that is physically breaking down. There's this huge seawall that surrounds them, and which is mentioned briefly earlier in the movie. I think in a mayoral, campaigning speech, Bella Real talks about strengthening the seawall, building it better, making sure it's not going to break. And this is Riddler's plan. He has become so disillusioned with any possibility of goodness for Gotham that even after he kills all these corrupt officials, brings all these secrets into the light, he sees that the promising, very altruistic mayoral candidate has won. He's still convinced that's not enough. That's never going to be enough. This city is cursed. We need to kill everybody in it. We need to flood the entire city. There's no way out. Yeah.
Yeah. What I found interesting about all of this stuff here is, the bombs do go off. Batman does not stop it.
They don't catch it in time.
You do get a lot of scenes of Batman helping people out of the rubble, getting them to safety. There's the scene where he's in the water and he has to flare up, and it's that like top down thing. That scene was gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful.
All that stuff. But those scenes, especially once they get outside and it's like that next morning and the sun is rising, it really reminded me of like the news footage and stuff we saw back in the day of Katrina, of Hurricane Katrina. And it's interesting that you say that Gotham is now a city whose foundations are literally broken, right? Whereas these Gulf cities and towns, like that is part of the conversation there too, that, hey, there are these natural disasters that happen there all the time. Like, why would you want to keep going back there? Why would you want to keep building there and having these same things happen over and over again? And that's the same conversation for Gotham of like, why would you want to move to Gotham? There's all this crime and criminality and just the Arkham Asylum, and then they escape, and then they go to jail, and then they escape, and then Arkham Asylum, and it's just this cycle of the same things happening. Why would you want to keep building there. It's an interesting conversation, and it's an interesting parallel. That is that is what it made me think of when I saw those things there.
Mm-hmm. I those flooding scenes are very effective. Those are because when you first see them, you aren't sure, is this what Batman is projecting in his head? Like, oh, if I don't stop the Riddler's bombs, this will happen. And then you realize, no, this is literally happening in real time. Batman is too late. Like the city is already flooding. They're I don't want to say graphic because I feel like the phrase graphic speaks to gore, viscera, or something, but they are brutal. This is very aggressive flooding. It is scary to watch, and I felt very grateful that there wasn't a natural disaster like that has happened in the last 2 years that would make them say, this hits too close to home, let's delay the film again.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that does happen around the world all the time, which sucks. But yeah, it leaves this movie on a sense of new beginnings, if that makes sense, which is an interesting place to end a Batman movie. But I think a fitting one too, because again, like we were discussing earlier today when we discussed Court of Owls, which will be out soon on the review show. Like Batman has this staunch belief in the city that it can be better. There's a better tomorrow. And I feel like that's the note that this movie ends up on, where it's just like, hey, Batman is now no longer this complete mystery. He still is, right? He's still a mystery. He's still gonna drive fear into the criminals, but he's also now established himself as someone who is wanting to help people, wanting to help the city, and will lead them to safety and stuff like that. And it's as much it has this like sun rising on a city, like that kind of stuff. Batman in the daylight is always just ridiculous to see. Like it is the stupidest thing to see him like walking down the stairs of this stadium, just like, what is this guy doing here? He looks stupid. So yeah.
During that fight, it in the arena, he does knock out he's beating up a Riddler follower. And he's demanding, like, he unmasks him, like, who are you? And the guy mocks Batman back and says, I am vengeance. You can almost that's one of the themes of this movie.
He changed his name to Batman.
Right. Well, it's Batman realizing vengeance only gets you so far. I want the city to know me as something beyond vengeance. Like, this has worked for 2 years. I've scared all these street thugs.
It's a good
but
point,
I need to mean something else to the people of Gotham. Like, I need to adapt. And he does help get so many people, first the mayor and then the late former mayor, his wife and son, get everybody out of the rubble. He helps save like dozens of people, partially just because he's a large, sturdy man who is strong and he can go in there and lift many people.
Yeah.
His big, heavy boots don't weigh him down. I liked getting to see that part of it also. The Batman's not just punch, kick, drive a Batmobile. He's like, I will lift people out of the rubble. I will do that all night as long as it takes. And I think the movie does end on a very hopeful note with what Batman says and what Bella Real says about rebuilding the city, strengthening her resolve she had at the beginning of the movie. I look forward to seeing the future Batman stories. How is she doing as mayor next time we get back here?
I really hope they do make a proper sequel movie to this.
Yes.
Because I would like to see that next installment. But as we've mentioned, there are spin-offs coming down the road here. So that's exciting that we will get to see more of this. But yeah. I mentioned my kind of gripe with the Riddler. I wanted to ask you, is there anything in this that didn't really click with you that much, or you maybe question their decision of why they did it this way?
There is a big scene at the end of the movie we haven't discussed yet. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure.
Where we see the Riddler in jail and lamenting.
I was kind of going to get to that next in
okay.
Like, what could be happening in a sequel here.
Okay. Is there anything that didn't really click with me? Like I said, I think personally I'm not just fond of stories of a mob mentality, of somebody inspiring other people to do bad things, to be a follower of a poor ideal. So but I don't think it was a bad choice for them to have all of these Riddler acolytes coming out of the woodwork at the end of the movie to storm Gotham Square Garden. But it's not what I would have done. I do like it in conjunction with the flood, though. I think that is a very visceral form of destruction that I feel like doesn't get used in narratives a lot. It would be more frequently perhaps a fire or some other form of destruction, like we saw in the beginning of Batman v Superman, where all those buildings are falling because of Superman and Zod fighting, or some other form of destruction. I thought a flood was a good choice.
Indeed, it's a plague on the city. Yeah, I at the end of the day, I enjoyed this film a lot, and like I said, I do want to see a sequel. So that leads us to this next scene, this last scene of the movie. We see Paul Dano's Riddler in jail, and there's a cellmate next to him who just, kind of chuckling, laughing, then makes a reference to a clown. That, one day you're up, and then the next day they see you as a clown, and then they have this
well, I'll tell you, there's worse things you can be than a clown.
Well, maybe not in Gotham, but yeah, it is we know it's the Joker, right? But he goes unnamed in the film.
Yes.
The actor that plays him, I don't remember the guy's name, but it's the guy
Barry
that played
Keoghan.
Druig. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the actor that played Druig in Marvel's Eternals. If you were paying attention to all the casting and stuff like that they were announcing online, yes, you knew he was playing the Riddler in this movie. Apparently, there's a deleted scene in this where Batman speaks with him face to face, but didn't make it into the actual theatrical version. That's
intriguing to me that they would have done that at this stage, because this seems like a perfect thing to use exactly the way they did use it in the final film, just as this briefly seen tease at the very end.
Yeah. To be honest, though, I thought this was a bit of a weird inclusion. This is also something that I don't want to say I didn't like. I liked it, but I thought it was unnecessary, if that makes sense. Like, I also don't want another Joker story to be next. Like, I don't, guys, there's so many more villains in Gotham. I'm glad they used the Riddler in this. We got a good on-screen Riddler. But I want something else. Explore something else that we either haven't seen before or they haven't done a good version of yet. Like, we've gotten some good Jokers, but we haven't gotten a good Mr. Freeze. Sorry, but not good. Which is
you were the villain your movie needed you to be, Mr. Freeze, but you're not going to fit anywhere else. We have not grown with you, Mr. Freeze.
Though the director Matt Reeves has, besides the Court of Owls, has also said that he would be interested in exploring a Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
in
I would love to see
sequel.
that. How a grounded Mr. Freeze would look in this world. I think that would be a wonderful choice. Especially since
go ahead.
I was going to say, no, I thought that was the same Schumacher movie. It's not. Those were two separate ones. But this is the order of operations. We did a Riddler, and then there was a Mr. Freeze. Again, we shall repeat the pattern.
I was about to say, especially with this one kind of ending in a flood, if they do if they go with the theme of these natural, I mean, I know Mr. Freeze is maybe less natural, but still, right? It's you now have water and you now have ice, and then maybe a third film could be like Firefly or some villain like that, right? It'd be interesting to just see a theme of something like that.
Yeah, I do like that. I will say, I also don't feel like we need another Joker. But I do need a Barry Keoghan Joker. I really liked his work in Eternals, and he's also in The Green Knight. He's got one great scene in The Green Knight.
I know he's in Dunkirk, and then I saw him in Chernobyl.
Oh,
the HBO.
Oh man,
Harry's, yeah.
Ooh, okay. I know you watched Chernobyl. How is it? Did you finish it?
So good.
Okay.
Holy
okay, I've been thinking of pitching this on the review show. I didn't know you'd already watched it.
I will absolutely watch that again. Absolutely.
Okay.
It is so good.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to know. I've been intrigued by it, but I've been worried, will that make me too sad? But then I hear more good things about it, and actors I like are in it. Okay.
Great acting. It's phenomenal. It is dire, though. It is just, it is, you will not leave that feeling happy at all.
But the fact that you say you will watch it again makes me feel like this is a worthwhile viewing experience.
It's Jared Harris, and it's a lot of him.
I know. It's Jared Harris. That's almost all those are the 3 words somebody needs to say to me.
The 3 words that every girl wants to hear. It's Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. Thank you for coming to our pocket podcast about Chernobyl. But I like Barry Keoghan. I would love to see what he would do with this role. That alone it excites me. I also like that when you see Joker briefly, shadowy through these bars, he is weird looking. It's not just like that he's got crazy hair. But yeah, there's something up with his skin. This looks like a man who did fall into a vat of acid. I would like to see a Joker that looks different than we've ever seen a Joker. That looks way more damaged. Not clearly labeled damaged on his forehead, but is damaged. You can tell. He didn't need to write that. Right. That excites me. I also like that he gives Riddler a riddle of his own. What gains more worth? The fewer of it you have. I forget exactly what it is, but the answer is a friend.
A friend.
And the Joker is a character who I've never seen have a friend. The Joker's 2 dynamics are Batman and Harley Quinn. I've never seen a Joker story, and it may be out there. Like I said, I don't know that much about Batman. This may exist, and I just haven't encountered it. I've never seen a story where the Joker has a platonic friend. And I'm intrigued by that possibility of what if the Joker did team up with another villain in the Batman universe. Not strictly for the purpose of a team up, but for the purpose there is some semblance of friendship there. He is
there's an understanding between them.
Yeah. I would like to see that. I would like to see the Joker have a friend.
Though, to be honest, though, I don't feel... I feel like it's a one-way understanding, right? When he says it's a friend, I think it is Riddler thinking, oh, I have someone who understands me. There's a connection there. We understand one another. But Joker is like, oh, I can manipulate this guy. Like, I even if there's him.
Even if there's 10% some sincerity, that's enough for me. There would still be something different than what I have seen this character do before. Like I said, and maybe somebody out there can send me like, oh, you don't know? There's a famous story where Joker and Killer Moth have a night on the town.
Just cutting a rug out on town. It's great. But yeah, like I of course I think would like to see a Court of Owls sequel somehow in this. I'd love to see Mr. Freeze. I'd love to see Hush. I don't know where they're gonna go. I think they've planted enough Easter eggs. I think there is kind of foreshadowing that Penguin would also step up and be, but I know he's getting his own spin-off. So maybe it's foreshadowing that instead, where the city is now flooded and the Penguin can't fly, but geez, they can sure swim. Good, right? They can swim.
Yeah.
Swim well. And he is that, like, with Maroni gone, with Falcone gone, with Joker and Riddler in jail, like, Penguin's kind of the next in line here, in terms of the stuff. So he would be the next one to step up, in that regard. So there's just they're building a world, which I like. They're doing some world building and foreshadowing, and I like it. I like where this one left us. So bravo to the Batman. I like it.
Yeah, I had a great time with this movie. It was unpredictable. It excels at mood and atmosphere and the aesthetics. It's got such a clear vision that it executes very well. Very well cast. I'm excited to see this Barry Keoghan performance. Who else is going to show up in another movie? Who would a Mr. Freeze be? Imagine.
Yeah. Wow. What's his name? Mads Mikkelsen would make a good Victor Freeze.
See, what I've been thinking is it's got to be an actor who looks very good bald.
Well, true. I guess I haven't seen him bald. I'm sure he would do it, right?
Yeah, many actors would shave their head to play on Mr. Freeze.
Oh well.
Well, I'm excited for anything they choose to do. There's so many ways that they could stretch out this world, that we could see different aspects of it. There's things already in it that I'd like to spend more time with. The one thing I was kind of disappointed in is that there was not a return check-in with Alfred at the end of the movie. I hope for twice as much Alfred in the films to come.
There you go. Double your Alfred, double your fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's about all I have to say on the Batman.
Yeah.
That about wraps us up. So we made it for about 2 hours, which means we are shorter than the runtime of the actual movie. But not by much. So there you go. Good old long one here.
Lot to discuss. We had to talk about Chernobyl there.
Unexpected. Chernobyl is very important. Jared Harris is very important. So
what if he's Mr. Freeze? He could play anything.
To be honest, I'd be okay with that.
Name me a villain he couldn't be. He could be Poison Ivy if he wants.
Anyways, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, show where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember.
You can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter, and you guys can stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So go like, share, and subscribe. We hope you guys help spread the word. That would help us out a ton, and we'd be super thankful. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you for checking it out, and keep your eyes peeled on the Reactor Core feed, because the end of this month is when Moon Knight starts coming out.
Yes. You will be in the midst of a move, so I don't know if we'll be able to talk about Moon Knight as soon as it comes out, but we will be on it promptly.
right? It's out.
I thought it comes out on the 30th. It comes out on the 30th. It's a Wednesday show, right?
I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was the 25th, which is a Friday. So I don't remember off the top of my head, but we will figure it out. Keep your eyes peeled. I would love to talk about that when we might just do an audio only podcast on that. We'll see. If not, we'll maybe break it up by like, hey, we did. Here's here's part one of our Moon Knight coverage, and it's the first half of that or something. Who knows? But yeah, your eyes peeled. And with that, we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.